Hi, I'm your YouTube grandma, ready for Chapter 3 of Love's Playbook, Book 1. The trickiest deception is when you seem to be working for your opponent. Chapter 3, the beginning of deception. But then the gods met again. I know we were going to talk about creating Earth, but I think we have a problem. Again, Michael was first to speak, his face grave. I haven't wanted to believe it, but we can't ignore it. He has tried to hide it from me, and he's trying too hard to make me think he's happy. It's come back to me that Lucifer has been asking questions of the angels under him. While professing to work for their good, he is creating doubts in them, getting them to express displeasure, and then later repeating it to show them they aren't truly happy and that angels shouldn't be under law. He even said, inhabitants of the worlds might need law, but angels don't. We're wiser and know what's right. I've heard the same. Gabriel came to me with questions about what law is, said Abba, and if he's coming to me, there must be others who are wondering. I'm sure you are right, agreed Ruach. I've noticed the difference among the angels. Something has shifted. Their energy isn't the same, doesn't feel the same. I hate to say it, but I think Lucifer's discontent has started to spread. I've been thinking about it's time for me to make a move. I think you're right, agreed Abba. We need your presence out among all the angels. Have you heard anything from any of the worlds? Not yet. I haven't felt anything outside of the angels, but without intervention, it will spread there too. I will become the breath of God everywhere, like the wind or the air in every place. Remember? It's why I picked this name, for this eventuality. What do you think? Abba nodded. We will need that. They will need you. We can't stop it from coming. We knew it would at some point. I'm wondering what you think about creating our new world order of beings now. It would be risky, but if Ruach transforms into omnipresence, that would certainly reduce their chance of failure as well as the spread of disaffection throughout the universe, answered Michael. It's just that they would be so new, so unprotected, lacking experience with us. What if I would become their security, their teacher? I could go down and talk with them every evening. You know, teach them about themselves and the universe, about the way things work, about the threat to freedom. They will become so bonded in a short time that they will be safe. After all, aren't I the ambassador among us now? They all smiled, feeling somewhat lightened by talk of the new world. You will have backup from Ruach, Abba smiled at Ruach. I shall miss seeing you out and about, warrior, and they all laughed. Yes, but now you'll be feeling me everywhere, and you will still see me here in your councils. It wouldn't do for the two of you to be sitting here alone. You know how unstable dyads can be. And they laughed freely. Seriously, that's another reason for me to become omnipresence. The new Earth will be based on dyads, 2 becoming 1, and then 3. It's a new math as well as a new order. This new plan will need me just to be the stabilizing influence. They laughed and joked, and Michael said, it's good to laugh together. I needed this. Let's make our next meeting sooner. Good idea with the rising unrest, and then we will get to see Ruach more often, Abba concluded, laughing and hugging Ruach and Michael. Ruach calls a meeting. A shift was occurring in the energy of creation. Where everything had been harmony and peace, happiness and tranquility, there was questioning. What had seemed arrested for a time was felt again. Lucifer was dissatisfied with himself, his place and abilities, openly questioning the gods. He wanted to create beings, not just music. He wanted to be a god. Ruach felt this and called the other two together. The next convocation is tomorrow, and I think you should explain to everyone about the law of love. Lucifer has been very artful in his questioning. He has some of the angels believing that everyone should be allowed to do whatever they want, and that it is only our laws that keep that from happening. There is so much confusion. Most of them didn't know there was a law, and he is describing it as the rule that makes everything be what it is. He has twisted it until it sounds like the opposite of freedom. He's making us sound like tyrants, and there is so much dissent, angels debating and arguing. How has this been for you, Michael? Abba wanted to know. They mostly have tried to hide it from me, but Lucifer has been avoiding me. We still create music, but he is not himself. He feels restrained. And then I can feel resistance when I ask him to do something. He often says he has other things to do. He's not delighted to carry out my wishes anymore. Once, after he apologized for not having time to spend together, I was walking to console myself over losing our closeness, and I found him just thinking. He was sitting on a stone bench under a tree, and he was so deep in thought he didn't hear or see me approach. His expression was cunning, like he had a great secret. I'd never seen him look like that before. It was sad and chilling at the same time. I find him altered, and when I try to bring up anything about him or us, he professes love for me and says everything is fine. Does he think he can hide it? Abba responded, perhaps I need to remind them tomorrow about who you are as well. Maybe he has convinced himself that you are no more than he is. It sounds like he is inventing stories in his mind and believing them. You want to see the picture of the back of Lucifer sitting on a bench? The bench. Presentation, Abba style. The next day, the amphitheater filled with much anticipation. No one could talk quite like Abba. His visage and presence were inspiring, but when he spoke, his tone was mellow and warm, resonant and sounded like love. The sound went into you and warmed you, and yet it wrapped around you and held you. Today was different, though. While all of that was true, there was a strength one could almost call confrontation, but not harsh or cold. It too was full of support. It was the first time they had needed correction. And it carried compassion that had never needed expression before this. My children, he began, it has come to our attention that many of you are questioning the existence of law, its purpose and function. Should perfect beings like you need it? It is my delight to speak to you on this matter to help you understand. In fact, everything that has design and purpose runs on law. It's simply the statement of the way things work. You were created under the law of love. That means all of you were given hearts bonded together by desiring good for each other. That is how you work. You may choose a different mode of operation because you were also made capable of that. Only good that is chosen and comes from the heart and the head is worthy of being called love. You are free to choose to stay loyal to your true natures and the law of love, or you may choose to go outside of that and do whatever comes into your mind. But let me share with you where that will take you and how it will affect you. He walked slowly across the front, searching their faces for understanding. If there is no law, and everyone does what seems good for his advancement or happiness without concern for others and their needs, then the whole system breaks down, and freedom ceases to work efficiently. Freedom can only thrive where everything is balanced for the welfare of everything else. If that doesn't happen, the whole infrastructure collapses. The dynamic tension created by everything giving to support everything else creates the energy needed to keep all of it running. Some of you have begun to have strange feelings that are sometimes frightening and sometimes feel exhilarating, like a surge of power. Please hear my warning. That surge of power was not meant to be turned inward in a world where there is no threat. It will take you out of harmony with everything else. It will make thought paths in your brain that will cause unrest and dissatisfaction. Before long, it will consume your thoughts and will become selfishness and end in death. This is the law of sin and death. If activated, it will bring evil to life, and evil is the opposite of love and harmony. I know that most of you have never heard these terms before. You haven't needed them in your innocence. But now that there is questioning among you, you need more information. Sin is rebellion against the law of love and simply stands for self-exaltation is non-existence. It begins with separating from love in your thoughts, maybe just questioning it, and it ends in dying. That means you cease to exist and is also called death. Separated from life and the love energy you were made to run on, your being breaks down, the support systems fail, and you stop thinking, become incapable of choosing, and finally stop breathing. While you are free to choose this, why would you want to? Is there anything that you need that you don't have? Have you not been happy in your present state of being? Is there anything real to cause distress? At this point, Abba asked for questions, and they stayed long, asking for clarification on what would happen if certain thoughts were pursued. He went into explaining their anatomy and energy and how the life principle worked. There were many epiphanies. That means like lights went on. Even Lucifer knew he was wrong and that he should stand up and apologize to the whole assembly for the thoughts and questions he had inspired. He could say that he had not really understood all this, or where his thoughts were leading him. He was sure that Abba would support him and embrace him, and harmony and peace would be restored. Something pulled in his mind to be released from what he had started and go back to the joy and approval he used to live in. He didn't know that it was Ruach influencing him until Abba announced at the close of the meeting that Ruach was transforming. They would not be seeing him anymore because he had given up a form. But they could feel him and talk to him anytime they chose, because he had taken on omnipresence and would be with each of them always to support them whenever they wanted or needed him. Abba stressed that there was no need for any to feel overwhelmed or out-argued or outnumbered, because Ruach would always be close as the air around them. In fact, that was what his name meant, and all they had to do was call it or think it, and he would be there. All thought would be open to him as a safeguard for them, but he would operate by the law of freedom, and he would never force himself or his thoughts upon anyone who chose another thought or path. Lucifer shuddered, but Abba went on. He reiterated that Michael was a god and not only an angel, even though he had given up his form as God to become as one of them. He ended with, "Love delights to give." Lucifer almost stood up, making his feelings known, but he held back, afraid of what the others would think. He had stirred up quite an interest in his perspective. Did he really want to let it go and admit he had been wrong? Maybe he should play it out and see for himself where it would go. Deep inside, he knew Abba was telling the truth, and his heart swelled with love for the Ancient One. Yet he hesitated, wanting to do it his way, wanting to be the one in charge. He could win the others over. He was sure of it. And that's the end of chapter 3. Till next time, bye-bye.